Okay, I've had a request for another Werewolf the LARP series of videos. These will be about the auspices. So, first one I'm going to talk about is, of course, the most popular of the bunch, which is Ahroun, those born under the full moon, the warriors. Well, they are the most common, and in a lot of ways the easiest to play, but they are also probably the ones that get cheapened the most via play. A lot of people just look at them as being the quintessential furry balls of destruction. That's not always the case. When you're making an Ahroun, obviously you're going to look at your tribe first, because different tribes value different factors in an Ahroun. Obviously, a Get a Fenris Ahroun is going to be the biggest, most macho force of destruction that most of the games have ever witnessed, if it's done right. And if you go by stereotypes, you're going to have any number of things that are going to be out there that fall into it. Whether it's the Bonar hoodlum type gang street fighter, the Black Fury warrior goddess, kind of Wonder Woman-esque, the Child of Gaia reluctant fighter. You almost got to think of several martial arts films, although you don't have to use the martial arts, because you can go to Stargazer for that. Because the Stargazer Ahroun will probably be that reluctant martial artist, old school Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, and so on. Fianna, drunken brawlers. I already said glasswalkers. People tend to view them as he who has the biggest firepower wins type combat monkeys. Red Talons, Big Bad Wolf, savage, fierce, feral. Silver Fang, you're going to have that very cold and callous, well, maybe not cold and callous, but you're going to have the honorable dueler. You're going to have that guy who is devastating, but almost in a general type fashion, or some kind of military officer. Shadowlords. Think of that big brute assassin, the one who's going to basically find you, beat you to a pulp, and then slit your throat after he's beat you for a while because he enjoys it. Silent Strider Ahroun. You don't see as many of them, surprisingly. They are the speed kills type. They're the ones who are going to shoot past you, and you're not going to realize your throat is slit until they're already gone. Atena, their Ahroun, they tend to be kind of those guerrilla fighters. They're going to be the ones who are going to put a number of arrows into you before jumping down and slitting open your belly and leaving you to die. Or they're going to be the ones that come at you with some specific tribal type weapon that is designed to get past your defenses and eviscerate you or crush bone or whatnot. Wendigo, they're kind of the Native American version of the Get. They are going to be the quintessential warriors. They're like the Apache reborn. They are going to specialize in what they do, whether it's knife fighting, bow fighting, spear fighting, you name it. They're going to specialize in it. It usually depends on the tribe that they're, the human tribe that they are descended from, which is a regional thing usually. However, it doesn't matter, because those are just your stereotypes, and there are a number of other ways you can go with it. So you got to look at the Ahroun as something separate from the tribe in and of itself. I mean, you have your typical brawlers and melee artists and, furry engines of destruction. But you're going to end up with others. The alpha. The warrior who is there, they are the most powerful, they are there to lead, and they are going to only exert their primal dominance and their strength when necessary. You can have kind of a further down the road character, which would be the wizened, old, grizzled, almost retired warrior, who's going to impart their bit of wisdom to the younger generation. You could have a melee artist in a tribe that doesn't play it very often. The ones who do tend to stay towards their feral leanings. You could have, the general. The person that is an Ahroun through and through and doesn't buy into, I am the point of the spear. They believe they are the hands on the spear, and they're going to put people in the right locations, and they're going to lead them to victory. A lot of it comes down to how you design your character. Okay, well, your quintessential rune is going to have physicals first. Toss up between socials and mentals depending on the tribe. Personally, I like socials for the intimidation factor because you're going to get in stare downs in rune. I do love my mentals because you got to notice shit happening, you got to see it coming, but typically if I'm going to make it a rune, that's going to be my tertiary. Okay, rage compared to willpower. You've got to buy up your willpower. If you don't buy up your willpower, you are a frenzy waiting to happen at every given drop of the hat. And that makes you more of a detriment than it does a positive. Because if you do not know if you can't control yourself, as a storyteller, I will tell you, the worm will make use of that, especially once they realize that you are an uncontrollable factor in any situation. They're going to do everything they can to provoke you and unleash you, and therefore make it so that your group either has to try to contain you, or they're at risk of being killed by you. Gifts. Typically, we're going to see Razor Claws, we're going to see Resist Pain. Those are probably the two most popular that we're going to ever see on a rune, and it's going to work out towards combat abilities from there. Then you get to some of the other ones, like Inspiration. That's a different type of a rune. Those are the ones that tend to be the generals, or tend to be the inspiring factor, the ones that are going to be rally points. They're going to be the ones that's going to go in there and they're going to engage the most powerful enemy, and they're going to try to do it flamboyantly so as to inspire everybody around them to cut through the minions and possibly close in on the final enemy. Once in a while, you're going to run into one who's big on rights. What rights work? Well, for like the get, you have to write a war, but you're looking at stuff like Rite of Wounding. Sometimes gathering for the departed is fitting, especially if you've got a Cairn of War. Talisman Dedication is going to, of course, be appropriate because a lot of times they're going to use that for various extra weapons that they're going to bring into battle. Rite of the Questing Stone, if they are the types who hunt down their prey, much like the Ectana and the Silent Striders will tend to do. That's about it. I'm going to cover with rights. After that, you're going to kind of move into your abilities. Everybody knows the typical: brawl, melee, dodge, firearms, survival. Those are your typical abilities you're going to see on an Ahroun. What else should you see, though? Athletics, very freaking useful. Alertness. They have to be aware of their situation, so alertness is very appropriate. Intimidation is always a good one. And then you get into some of the other stuff, like lore. To me, a rune should be the first one to have worm lore. Most people are going to think that it should be a Theurge, maybe a Galliard. It should be in a rune because the Ahroun have to know their enemy. So if they are truly in a rune and they're fighting their enemy, they should be the first ones to pick that up. Which, of course, is a slippery slope down a very potentially devastating and spiraled path. Okay. What other stuff? Some are going to be based on spirit combat, so they're going to take spirit lore. Some are going to be Umbral warriors, so you're going to have Umbral lore. Some are going to be dedicated to certain types of creatures, like vampires. Silent Strider runes a lot of times will have vampire lore because that's what they tend to prefer to fight. That's what they're going to go out of their way to hunt. Then you want to get into stuff like crafts or perform. Let's start with performance. Sometimes making a big grand display, especially amongst Fianna, like taking your spear and being able to spin it around and do a very impressive display is part of their tribe. It's part of being an Ahroun. It's part of being impressive. Then you get into the other factors, which is going to be crafts. Ahroun should have an idea how to fix their armor, make their armor, make their weapons, fix it, whatever it may be. Crafts armorer, crafts Boyer Fletcher, crafts weaponsmith, crafts gunsmith, crafts blacksmith. All of those are appropriate. And I think that about wraps up what we're going to cover with generalizations on how to play one of those. So, peace out.